I think both of us approached each other with some trepidation because we came from such different places. By the end of that interview, I felt like I'd met a spiritual soulmate, and our friendship blossomed after that. And even during the campaign, when he was strongly supporting President Trump, we always had a communication and outreach. And then after I made the endorsement, I saw him all the time.
I'm sure at this point we have all heard about the death of Charlie Kirk, who was shot while he was at a college campus trying to teach truth and trying to communicate his ideas to other college students that he's been doing for years now. And unfortunately, his life was taken away from him, leaving a wife and 2 children. And it is just so heartbreaking. But we're going to go back, or I guess here for the first time, RFK Jr. giving his first experience with Charlie Kirk, meeting him, and how he played a massive part in what RFK Jr. is doing now today in the Trump administration. We have Charlie to thank for all the things that you are enjoying that RFK Jr. has done for this administration, because he was very integral in getting them two together. But before we get into that, I want to remind you guys to subscribe to RTM News, because it ensures to YouTube that you're enjoying these videos, and in turn, it will continually show up in your feed and they'll push it out to more people. I'm Titus. Let's get into this video.
But I first met Charlie in July of 2021. I had just written a book about Anthony Fauci, and he had me on his show for this very, very wide-ranging interview in which he really let me talk a lot, which was unusual at that time because I was not allowed to talk on most outlets. Sure. And I think both of us approached each other with some trepidation because we came from such different places. By the end of that interview, I felt like I'd met a spiritual soulmate, and our friendship blossomed after that. And even during the campaign, when he was strongly supporting President Trump, we always had a communication and outreach. And then after I made the endorsement, I saw him all the time, and he helped me a lot during the transition.
Man, it's cool. That just shows the kind of person Charlie Kirk was. Like, even though they were on opposing sides, Charlie Kirk was still trying to reach across the aisle to RFK, who is a Democrat, and trying to get some sense of unity. Because let's be honest, it was very chaotic politically. It's still chaotic, but like this whole divisive, everyone's opposed to each other. Like, I'm not saying Charlie Kirk was the only person to do this, but like he was very big part in getting RFK involved with Donald Trump. He was always facilitating Tulsi Gabbard, other people that were on the left that were kind of over how insanely woke things had gotten, and identity politics and the racial division nonsense that they're trying to do, the race baiting. And it was just people were over it. And I think he did a really good job of uniting these people. So here in this video I'm going to show you now is when he says how Charlie Kirk was the main architect in getting him to join the Trump administration. So let's play this video.
Well, Charlie was probably the primary architect of my unification with President Trump. I actually announced my endorsement of President Trump at a Turning Point rally in Arizona, which was his idea. And he was, for people who were there, remember it, there was all these kind of fireworks and sparklers on the stage when we shook hands, and that was all Charlie's orchestration. That was his idea, and he insisted on that.
I remember when that happened. That was huge. When RFK dropped out and endorsed Trump, that was like, oh my gosh, we have a Democrat on Trump's side. He's even calling out the insanity of the left. Things are getting wild. The support is crazy. The momentum is high. I mean, RFK already had a massive support system, and he was not even being noticed by the Democratic Party. It was just like, so he had to go independent. And when he shifted over, it was like, Charlie Kirk has always been good at this. I've been to a few of his events. The way he just puts on a show, and for lack of better words, makes things look so iconic. Like that picture or that video where it shows RFK and Donald Trump shaking hands with the fireworks and the sparklers and all that stuff. That was that looked iconic. And I think he played a huge part in seeing people watch these two opposing figures on different sides of the aisle unite together because they both care about the country growing. So this next video I'm going to show you is him giving a little more detail onto that process of Charlie convincing him and stuff. So let's check this out.
You know what the transition is like. You never kind of know what's going to happen. And he was a critical ally for me in calling President Trump. And at first, when President Trump asked me whether I wanted this job, I was tentative. I didn't know whether I wanted to handle Medicaid and Medicare portion, which is the biggest, economic behemoth.
Sure.
And he really persuaded me that I should do it. And then he helped me not only making calls to the president himself, but telling me people that I should call. So operating strategically. But I'll just say one other thing before we sign.
Let me pause there, Bobby. This will continue on streaming. But for those listening on radio, I want to thank the secretary. And again, we'll keep on going for another few minutes off the radio, but appreciate it.
Thank you.
And now that we're, I guess, off radio, keep talking about this piece of it, because
I think
he was strategically brilliant, and he was a good political operator in a way that I think so many people don't realize.
Yeah, he was. He was an impresario strategist, and he knew exactly. He did the same thing with Amaryllis. He told her, make this phone call, make this phone call, make this one first, this one second.
Yep.
And he knew exactly, he understood the use of power, and he understood what buttons needed to be pushed to move the ball across the goal line. So he was very good on that. So he was a pragmatist, but he was also one of the most idealistic people that I've ever met.
He was.
And his principal preoccupation was with conversation. He thought conversation was the only thing that could heal our country.
It's already well established that he was amazing at persuading people and having conversations with them, allowing people to be able to see his perspective and saying why things should be done the way that he's saying them in a way that is, conducive and applicable and understanding, for someone who, they go into all these campuses and talking to all these kids that literally hate him initially because of what they're told online, that he hatred and nonsense that he spews. You had these leftists that were like these big leftists that would debate him, like crying over the fact that he was assassinated, or because they knew that even though they disagreed with his ideas, he was not some monster. They may think he had bad ideas and maybe thought he was like a bad person in the sense of his ideologies are wrong, but they didn't think he was like a monster who deserved to be taken out the way that he was. You can see obviously in those college campus videos and in the way that RFK is talking now is that he had this amazing ability to understand people and how to communicate and persuade them in a way that is beneficial and to them, and in a way that makes them understand why that may be the way to go or whatever, And so I kind of just regurgitated the same thing, but it's just like, it was a skill and a gift that JD Vance and RFK are acknowledging. It's unfortunate that we lost that because he was really good at that. And it's just sad that someone that young and intelligent, regardless of whether you agreed with everything he said or not, was taken out just because he had ideas and he wanted to share them with the world. And he wanted people to see that his ideas in his mind were right. And if you thought they weren't, challenge me, tell me why I'm wrong, and bring valid evidence or data, whatever, to disprove my claims. But we have one more video for you guys where I believe RFK Jr. is going to be talking about one of his last conversations, if not the last conversation that he had with Charlie. So let's check out this video.
And I had a conversation once with Charlie where we were talking about the danger that we both faced from challenging entrenched interests. And he asked me if I was scared to die. And I said to him, there's a lot worse things than dying. And one of those, and chief among those is losing our constitutional rights and having our children raised in slavery. And I said to him at that time, I said, sometimes our only consolation is that we can die with our boots on. We can die fighting for these things. Charlie gave his life so that the rest of us would not have to suffer those fates worse than death. Now it's our job, he's no longer there to lead us, to rush in and fill the breach and win this battle for our country, for God, and for our families. Thank you all.
man, I still can't believe he's gone. And Charlie Kirk has done a lot for me personally. You know, I used to go to a lot of the events, and he gave me a platform in a lot of ways. I got to speak at a couple events and met a lot of my friends in this movement through him and the things that he has done. And just to see that this massive impact he had on my life and many others, to see that his life was taken so short, you know, it's heartbreaking. Yeah, there are worse things than dying, and he was willing to die for his cause, and he did. And I don't think if he was here, he would regret it. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to comment down your thoughts below. I want to know what you guys are thinking, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.